So today I'm going to attempt to build a wildly ambitious project, possibly too ambitious. We're going to try and build a community platform like Circle or Skool using Claude Code. Why are we doing this? Well, probably like you, I'm still learning Claude Code. I think the best way of learning a tool like this and working out where the edges are is to build something, and build something relatively complex, because we're going to run into lots of issues. We're going to have to navigate our ways around them. And I think a project like this also challenges our beliefs and biases. If you've been building software for a while, looking at a project like this feels like it should take months or potentially years. And I'm curious to see with Claude Code where we end up at the end of the day or a week. Secondly, I've resisted creating a community for this channel because YouTube does not need another AI automation school community. And I don't have anything to sell. And most school communities are basically just sales pages to sell some kind of service or product. That said, I would personally love to be part of a community where people actually helped each other learn, gave feedback on little products and businesses that we're building with AI, shared agents that we're building. Like, I think there could be something really cool in this space, but the platforms that exist somewhat limit the potential because they're built for a very broad audience. Whereas I like the idea of almost overfitting this to be very YouTube native and almost very native to AI automation to make this the perfect community for what I would want to be in. And then if it has a life beyond that, then great. But honestly, if this ends up being something that I can use for this community and it adds value, that is a brilliant outcome. So let me start off by showing you a couple of things, starting with usage. So we're on the Claude Code Max plan. You can see we're at 22% used in the current session and 55% for our weekly session. Both of these are going to reset in the next few hours, so we shouldn't hit too many issues with usage limits. I'll try and come back at the end and work out roughly how much this project costed to build in total. It's going to be a bit tricky because of the resets, but I should be able to get a rough estimation. So let me now show you how I've set this project up. And worth noting, this is very different to how I've set up any project in Claude Code before. We're giving it way more information to start with, just because of the complexity of the project. Now, I would love any feedback on this. If you have any ideas of how you would do this differently or better, we would love to hear them. As I say, I'm still learning this stuff too. So how I'm approaching this is we're going to have 3 agents. We might scale up the team of agents later, but initially I want to keep this quite simple just to make sure that we're not moving too fast in the early stages and we stick according to the product requirement document. So we've got a back-end engineer, a front-end engineer, and a QA. And the QA is going to basically write unit, acceptance, and end-to-end tests as we go and make sure that the other agents are not going off the rails. So each of these has a markdown file explaining what they need to do and just giving them some conventions that I want them to adhere to. Then we have some skills, just a Supabase skill because we're going to be using Supabase for our database, and a testing skill, just telling the QA how to write tests. Then we've got our Claude MD file, which is basically just an angry teacher telling the agents to read the docs. Then we got the docs, and this is where things get elaborate. We've got an API spec. We got a design system. What MVP has a design system? So this is absolutely incredible. I just asked Claude Code to make a beautiful design system. I fed it a couple of websites that I liked, and it just built this. So if you're unfamiliar, a design system is basically a place you can plonk a load of components, and then you can tell the agents to just use these components. Don't go and build a new button or a new sidebar. Only use the components in the design system. Now, the intention here is that this should make the front-end design experience of our app very polished, very modern, very consistent. And crucially, we shouldn't end up with 42 different shades of purple for our buttons. So this also takes a bit of load off the front-end agent because it means a lot of the components are already made and they already look beautiful. So we don't need the front-end agent to expend as much time building out these components because they're already built. It just has to know which ones to use and when. So next we've got an entity relationship diagram. This is going to tell the backend engineer how all the different fields in the database need to map to one another. And next we have the mother of all PRDs. This is a 64-page document that explains how everything works. Why is it 64 pages when it's an MVP? Scope creep. It's 2026. We don't need to negotiate with product managers anymore. We can just think of a feature, add it to the PRD. No MVP was ever ruined by scope creep. It will be fine. It will be fine. So I have gone through revision after revision, trying to tighten this from many different angles, from a security perspective, from edge case handling, performance, all the things that you would factor in when building an actual web app. Well, I say I've done it. I've just told Claude to pretend to be a security researcher and pull this thing apart and come up with a bunch of suggestions. So we've got that absolute beast. We also have a database schema already created. This is important because Claude has a tendency to just create tables, add rows and columns willy-nilly. I kind of want to get this locked in early so we don't get too much chaos as this thing balloons in complexity. Then we just got the usual folders to stick our code in and all of our tests. And one little nice addition is we've got this progress.md file, which includes all the different phases of what we're going to build in what order, and we'll be able to see over time essentially the roadmap of what we've built and what is still left to do. So that's where we're starting today. That took basically all of yesterday to get this to a point where I was happy with it. Now we can get cracking. So for our very first prompt, we're just laying the foundations, really creating the project scaffolding. So we're creating Tailwind config with design tokens from a design system, getting all the dependencies we need for testing, Supabase, etc. So one other thing I forgot to do, I've just created it here, is a settings.json file in the .claude folder with Claude Code experimental agent teams equals 1. This allows us to use agent teams, which is a relatively new feature in Claude Code that means our sub-agents can talk to each other. So normally the sub-agents can kind of send work back to the main agent. This means that, for example, our QA agent can send work straight to the back-end agent or the front-end agent, etc. So we're going to fire that in and see what happens. Okay, so it's just got to get in a hang of what's going on. It's read the claude.md file and understood our folder structure. So now we're going to create the app router. Okay, so we're just installing the dependencies and just put this into context with our roadmap. We're currently in this kind of project scaffolding phase. Once we've done this, we'll start importing some of the components from our design system. Then it's going to build a responsive layout shell, and then we'll move on to auth and setting up the database. So we're intentionally moving quite slow at this point, just because anything that happens at the start of the project is going to set our trajectory, especially when it comes to things like what frameworks we're using, database schema, that kind of stuff, where it's very hard to change later. So I want to make sure that it's doing this stuff right. And at some point later, we'll probably stick it on YOLO mode, put dangerously skip permissions on, and let it run loose. But at this point, I just want to make sure the important stuff is done right. Our scaffolding is complete. It's generated 22 tests, mostly just linting, which are all passing. And it's asked me to run Supabase in Docker. So we're just running the migration. Okay, our migration finished. We've now got this running in a Docker container. So we'll move on to session 2 and bring everything over from our design system. All these prompts, by the way, what I'll do is if this community actually ends up working, I'll create a post where I'll share all the prompts that I've used in case you want to have a look over them, or use them as a source of retrospective schadenfreude to see where this project went wrong. So basically all I'm asking it to do here is to bring over all the design tokens from our design system into our Tailwind config, then create a test page so we can make sure it's working, and write some unit tests to make sure this doesn't change in the future. So we'll drop that prompt in and wait for it to do its thing. Okie dokie, so it's split it out to all of these tasks. Okay, job done. So it's created 116 tests. It's also created this page locally where we can see the components that's pulled in from the design system. It's not pulled in everything yet, but we're going to pull in different components as we build them. So we're going to move on to session 3 and get it to build the layout shell. Let's come up with a plan. Let's go. This is what software development looks like in 2026. So in the time that it took me to eat a cheese and cucumber sandwich, we wrote 1,700 lines of code across 13 new files, creating 33 new unit tests, running 149 unit tests, all while I stuffed my face with 375 calories of cheese. So we've now got a layout shell, and we can see if I drag it down like this, it's nice and responsive. There's a few aspects that aren't quite as tight as the design system, like this search bar I'm not particularly happy with, but other aspects it's done pretty much exactly what I hoped for. Like these skeleton loaders are really nice. The menu over here collapses really nicely. So I'm going to do a bit of back and forward just to tighten this up and nip any discrepancies between this and the design system in the bud early. So it's pretty minor stuff, but you can see here, for example, there's not much spacing around the text here, whereas in the design system, we've got a little bit more padding there. And similarly, on the left-hand menu, you can see this box shadows getting cut off, whereas again, on the design system, it just looks a little bit nicer. So these are tiny, tiny things, but I just want to nip it in the bud now so it doesn't become an issue later. So giving it a few bits of feedback. Hold on, this feels like I'm doing QA. I thought we had a QA agent. Okay, I told our QA to wake up and do some actual work. Come on, take my tokens. Okay, QA agent has done its thing, found a couple of issues that have now been fixed, but on the whole, all looking pretty good. So we're going to move on to session 4, which is the big one. We're going to populate the database and set up auth. This is pretty interesting. So it's entered plan mode. It's fired up multiple agents to look across our docs. It's reading the API spec, the skills, looking at the existing code, the PRD, and putting a plan together. So it's come up with a game plan, so we're gonna let that run. Okay, that's done. I'm just gonna test it. We're gonna go here, and we've got a magic link. Now, if we click that, okay, that all looks like it's working. So we're about 3 hours in the real world, and we've got ourselves a nice foundation. Things are gonna start looking a bit more visual now. In session 5, we're gonna move on to community and profile setup. Then we're going to add spaces, posts, work on the feed, comments, reactions, etc. Okay, so we're going to fire up a clean Claude session and start session 5 to build out the configuration for communities and profiles. Let's drop that in. So I feel like over these next few sessions, we're going to get a sense of whether or not those early decisions to make the PRD very detailed, give it things like the database schema, the API spec, whether all of that is going to pay off and mean that we have a relatively stable MVP product, or whether this whole thing is complete trash and we're just going to end up with this spaghetti mess of bugs. At this point, honestly, my feeling is it's kind of 50-50. It could go in either direction. So far, I'd say things are looking good, but we've not yet connected front-end interactions to the back-end. When we start connecting those two together, it should become pretty clear whether or not this actually has a future as a product. Okay, so our API endpoints are created for profiles and communities. We're now going to do the same for spaces. I think this is also going to import a few more components from our design system. So it's finished building the Spaces API. So it's logged me in as a kind of a dev testing account, and we can navigate between the different spaces. And a couple of the components are now built. So if we click things like new post, we've got this nice modal. I don't know if this is actually going to save it yet. If I click post, is that actually going to keep it persistent? Yeah, it looks like it is. So then we can navigate between them, and it looks like the post is being mapped to the space correctly, which is nice. And ooh, it's created a VIP lounge. Oh, I'm not invited. So slowly but surely starting to come together. So let's move on to session 7. Okay, our QA has woken up, done some actual work and given us a big fail. And in the spirit of QA, some of these are wildly pedantic, whereas some of them are actually legit, like it's missed off some row-level security policies, which is not ideal. So this is great. This is exactly what I hope the QA agent would do. Find issues as we go along so we can fix them as we go. Okay, so the 13 QA issues have been fixed. So going to move on to session 7, which is to build out the comment system. Okay, Claude's finished cooking, and for unknown reasons, it's decided to reseed the database. So we have different spaces, different initial posts. But now if we click into a post, we should be able to add comments. Yep, and we've got reactions. We can now add emojis. I love that this is featured in the MVP. Critical feature there. And we should have all the kind of CRUD functions. We can delete that. That all looks like it's working. All pretty smooth. So we'll move on to session 8. So in this session, we're just adding content moderation, the ability to report posts and create a moderation queue for admins. Okay, it's saying it's done the content reporting and the bookmarking system. I can see it's done some bits, like we've now got this moderation page, but I can't actually see any way of reporting posts or comments, and I'm guessing that's because all the posts are from me, and maybe there's some logic to prevent you from reporting your own posts, which would make sense. So I'm going to ask it why that is the case, and if I am right, if it's because you can't self-report, to seed the database with some random users and dummy comments, just so we can test this and see how this would work in practice. I can see though it has done the bookmarking system, so now you can bookmark posts and it adds it to this kind of saved section. So it looks like that was the case. Claude has created a bunch of random content and is being very humble by saying that it is insanely good. And I can see now if I click here, I can report this content, but if it's a post that I've made, I can't self-report. So if I go into a post and report, I think we need to tidy up this drop down to be a little bit wider. But if I say this is spam, and then submit that report, curious now if we go into the moderation page, if that comes up. Yep, there we go. So that's showing as a report, and I can see the message, and then we can either remove the content, we can mute it, ban, warn. Not quite sure what would actually happen if I click these, but it looks like we've got a few options, which all looks pretty good to me. So what's interesting at this point is I'd say this is the first phase where I'm starting to see a little bit of context loss. Things are starting to take a little bit more time, a little more token usage. Definitely starting to slow down a little bit now and see some bugs creeping in. So I'm curious to see whether this is just unique to these last few sessions, which have been quite heavy on creating new API routes, or whether we're going to see that going forward and potentially even getting worse, particularly as the code base is getting quite large. But on the more encouraging side, it's nice to see this actually starting to take a bit of shape, albeit this is very basic at the moment, but it's starting to look kind of nice. And what particularly impresses me about this is that I haven't created any mockups for this. Yes, we had the design system, but there's no mockups. It's having to make a lot of assumptions about where these different components go. And so far, it's doing a really good job of that. As we saw, there's a few things that fall between the gaps, like this window not being quite the right size, but in general, it's doing a pretty good job of designing this in a way that looks intuitive. So let's move on to session 9. So next up, we're going to do file uploads and link previews. So at the moment, if I post a link like this, it doesn't show any like link preview. It just shows the actual link. We're going to change that to make that look a little bit nicer and also allow you to upload files, images, that kind of thing. So we're going to drop our prompt in. Okay, so I might have set a little trap for Claude Code here. There were 2 tables that we need for this session for post attachments that I didn't include in the database schema on purpose. And to give credit where it's due, I was expecting Claude Code to just go ahead and create those tables, which it shouldn't have done, because in the claude.md file, we explicitly told it do not create any tables without permission that are not in the database schemas. And so it did actually catch this and recognize that as per rule number 2 in the claude.md file, do not deviate from the schema without approval, and then ask me if I was happy to create those tables. So this is good. This gives me a little bit of confidence that we are paying attention to those things. So we're still cooking away on the link previews, but I can see it's making some good progress. Okay, that's all working. So now if I add it in a URL or go to upload an image, if we just upload that one, we can see it's uploaded that file into storage. If I post that now, we can see we've got images and also these little call out boxes for links. I think we'll probably do a little bit of polish and tidy up on these links to make them look a little bit better, but the functionality is now there. I've also done a little bit of polish around a few other areas. So now if we hit Command K, we get the search bar. You can also get to it obviously by clicking on the search bar. So this all works now. If we type in, say, Claude, it's going to actually search the database and find stuff. We've also now got this right-hand sidebar, which has got online members as well as the most active members this week. Okay, so in session 10, I'm just adding a couple of handy features for admins to manage things like spaces and tiers. So we can see it's added in the tiers now. At the moment, we've just got this free tier, and you can set limits on the number of members. You can add labels that all the members in that tier get. We can create new tiers. We can create a pro tier, make it 1 cent a month. Limit it to 2 members, say pro, and then create that. There we go, we can see that there. So I imagine at some point we'll create like a member management page and we'll be able to see all of the members and what tier they're on. We've also now got a spaces page so we can manage the different spaces. So we could create a new space, we call it voice AI, change the space type. I don't know what this is going to do. Then we can set the emoji, the label, description, and we can set the access control. So presumably if I set this as paid, for example, and we say you have to be on a pro tier, if we create that space and then go back into the community, we can see we've got this little locked icon now on this one. So if I click that, it's going to tell me that I can't access it because I'm on the wrong tier. So that's cool. We've started to get like access control for different spaces, which is going to be a handy feature. So I'm going to do a bit of refactoring now, just tidy up the code base, make sure that this is in a good place before we move on to the next phase, because the code base is getting pretty big. And although this is all looking surprisingly stable, I want to just unleash the QA on this for a few hours, refactor, pick up on any glaring issues before we move on to the next phase. Okay, so QA is finished mopping up. We've refactored a couple of big files, done a bit of performance optimization, changed a few dependencies that looked a bit sus. And we also had about 100 TypeScript errors, which it's gone through and fixed all of those. So the app is now at a nice kind of stable, clean slate. We've got 713 unit end-to-end and integration tests all passing. And this really shows the app was starting to get a little bit sluggish in places. We were doing things like loading all of these posts in one go, which when you got 50 odd posts, starts to add a little bit of lag, whereas now it's starting to feel quite nice and snappy again. So we're about 8 hours into the build, and in the next phase, we're going to start moving a bit quicker and making this more of a YouTube native platform. At the moment, it's pretty generic. We're going to start building features so that when a creator posts a new video, it's going to auto post that into the community. It's going to generate a landing page automatically for that, and lots of other cool stuff. Now, this might be a bit of a spoiler, but if it turns out this community actually works, I'll drop a link in the description below. You can have a look at the community. I'll also create a post where I'll share PRD, all the prompts that I've used in this video. And obviously, I'd love for you to be a part of that community. I don't have much fidelity at this point on what the community is going to look like. But if you're interested in building stuff with Claude Code and you're watching this video, frankly, you are probably my kind of person. Now, I'm going to go get some sleep, but I'll hopefully see you in the next video where we'll build phase 2.